Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here. It's been a while since I've done a good old shoujo versus shonen, so I'm looking for our shonen. I'm looking at Bleach Volume 3 by Kubo. For our shoujo, I read Volume 2 of Blackbird, and I did not give it a good review. I thought it was kind of juvenile and immature, and since I'm kind of OCD and I like going through things alphabetically, I started with A's, and now I'm in B's. I thought, maybe I'll give Blackboard one more chance. I got this far. Here's my review of Blackbird. Begone thought. So yeah, Blackbird, it's all the same thing. It's all like, oh no, I've been kidnapped because I'm stupid, and the handsome guy, who's clearly a bad guy, invited me to go with him all alone into the alleyway. Oh no, I'm gonna be assaulted. Come save me, Kyo, or whatever your name is. And then we'll not have sex after that, cause it's so dreamy. I felt myself transforming into a feminist while reading Blackbird. So that's going back to the library. Bleach, Volume 3 by Kubo. I'm really enjoying this. Every Bleach fan has told me, man, I loved early Bleach. And then they all tell me it gets really bad later. Like, they say there's some debate about when it gets bad. So I've just decided I'm going to read it as long as I enjoy it, and I'll dip out when it starts getting annoying and dumb. But these early volumes are amazing. I can see now why it became a hit. And the reason really this has become a solo review for Bleach is I realized I missed something in Volume 2 that just completely went over my head. While I was rereading Volume 2, there's like this little soul candy pill thing that they call Kon. And the point is that when Ichigo, he gets kicked out of his body so he can go fight the evil bad guy ghosts, right? In his samurai outfit as a ghost soul reaper. And while he's doing that, they use the little soul candy to give his body a temporary soul so no one notices that he's missing. And then at the end of that story, this little soul cone reveals that the Soul Reaper Society created all of these things. They were experimenting with creating artificial souls, and then they changed their mind and decided to get rid of all of them. So while he's in this little pill, they showed this image of thousands and thousands of these souls being destroyed. And I looked at that and I thought, wait a second, is that an abortion metaphor? Abortion! We talk about everything controversial on the show. But I'm serious. Or maybe a embryonic stem cell research parallel. Was that intentional on Kubo's part? Because even the imagery of a little tiny soul contained in this just little round little ball that doesn't look like a human, but it is a human soul. And then the powers that be, they create these things for their scientific purposes and then get rid of them. So I sat and I thought about that for a while, and what I realized resonated about that with me is that it was such a poignant little metaphor and the potential political implications of it completely went over my head. And you have to understand, I was a weirdo in high school. When everybody else was partying, I was reading Peter Kreeft's The Unaborted Socrates and writing my own abridged version of The Unaborted Socrates for speech and drama club, and we would perform our version of the unaborted. So I was what I'm saying is I was hypersensitive to pro-life, pro-choice issues in high school, and yet Kubo wrote this metaphor that completely went over my head the first time I read it, even though I'd normally be looking for things like that. So what I realized is this is an illustration of how Kubo takes poignant ideas. He takes ideas that resonate with people, that are kind of universal, and then he puts them into this magical, samurai, go fight the ghost adventure story in such a way that he communicates more beautiful truths than you would expect from the spiky-haired bad boy or the dreamy, ditzy girl on the front for the comedy action adventure stuff. So he's talking about death and loss and the value of life in the context of his super duper fighting world. And what's another good example of that? Trolls is another good example. I think it's DreamWorks made Trolls, where the little trolls are being killed by the giant goblins, and the goblins or ogres eat the trolls because they believe it makes them happy, and they've got all of there's sometimes where I see something I wonder, gosh, that is such a dead ringer for that political issue. Was it intentional and just subverted, or are they unaware of the potential implications of what they're writing. And I like it when I can look at someone and I really don't know what their position is. I'm just getting invested in the story. I could just be like seeing something Tite Kubo didn't intend whatsoever, but his metaphors work because they're so universal and so powerful. You just get absorbed in it. So this picks up where Volume 2 left off. So I just kind of wanted to make that as an amendum since I completely missed it in Volume 2. So thing I like, number one, is his sense of humor is contained to like little comedic scenes, and then he gives the humor a break and gets back to business. So like Ichigo's dad is embarrassing, and he embarrasses his kids because he's way too type A, he's way too enthusiastic and makes an idiot of himself in public. So he walks around on his hands like a goofball and trips and sees his girl's panties, and then one of his girls kicks him in the face and jokes about how the stock market's going down. She kicked him so hard, right? So dumb scene, back to normal. I like that because he either gets his laugh or he doesn't. I chuckle at his comedy scenes, and then it's back to normal, and it's not like we're so stupid, tee hee hee, all throughout it. He gives us our little comedy break, and then it starts getting us invested. The other thing I like is I see the point of like stories for young people, like fantasy stories for young people. These are supposed to communicate things to young people where they might not have experienced it. Not every young person experiences the death of a parent. A lot of protagonists have dead parents because it's one way of communicating to young people. Here's kind of like the attitude or the qualities you need to cope with the death of a parent. Kids who have experienced that, they identify with these characters. Kids who haven't experienced that, they start learning from these characters. So Ichigo's mother is dead. He was very attached to her. And I think her name's Rukia, like the Soul Reaper girl who came into his life and gave him all his super duper powers. She broached the topic kind of stupidly, and she was kicking herself because she was insensitive. So now they get a chance to talk again. And Ichigo says, "Aren't you going to ask me anything? Would you answer me if I did?" And then they just kind of like share a look. And then she says, "It's your business. It's a deep, jagged wound. I don't know how to ask about it without dredging up your pain and rubbing salt in that wound. I don't know what to say, so I'll wait. When you feel like talking, when you want to tell me, I'll listen." So what Tite Kubo is doing is he's putting wisdom about regular life into the context of their adventure. So they're off to like kill the evil monster that killed Ichigo's mother, and so he can get revenge and, you know, earn his honor as a Japanese schoolboy or whatever. But in the midst of that, they take a break to kind of give us this character moment of, I don't know how to talk to you about the death of your mother, but I'm willing to listen if you need to talk about it. That's just like some good old generic, you know, useful wisdom that, you know, like the 12-year-old who's just like spiky hair and ghosts and giant swords. That's like good for them to have in a story like this. Why did I mark this? I think I marked this because Ichigo fails, and so like, oh, and I also like the drama of it. So like they fight the monster, and every monster he's fought, it's not like he goes into like the super time chamber and he gets like a super duper power burst or he eats the super duper bean. At least in these early adventures, most of Ichigo's fights are about him having to be smart or having to deal with a threat that is a bit unique. And since he can't just like channel into his super duper powers, he's got to like fight smarter, or they mock him and say, "You're too angry, you're not focused, you're the weakest guy I've ever fought." And so then he has to figure out a way to work past that. So I really like these early chapters for kind of avoiding the Dragon Ball Z problem. People told me, like every Shonen Jump story, it eventually becomes like the Dragon Ball Z type thing where they gotta, you know, plenty of other manga channels have talked about this. I think it's called power creep, where just every adventure, it's not enough for them to blow up a mountain anymore. Now they gotta blow up a galaxy. Oh, it's not enough to blow up a galaxy. This guy's stronger than 2 galaxies. We gotta blow up a universe. So at least the early chapters of this so far have kind of avoided that, you know, stupid problem. Now, why did I mark this? Oh, I marked this because they talk a bit about honor culture, and like lots of, you know, like eggheads will write about, you know, the death of honor culture in the West and the replacement of the idea of honor with the idea of self-fulfillment or self-gratification. So even though they kind of like subvert the trope a little bit, I like seeing this musing on the importance of honor to a young man who's becoming a warrior. Even though like she's wondering, well, gee, should I intervene? Doesn't he need to like fight to get revenge on his mother on his own? And he subverts that and says, are you kidding? Of course I wanted you to come back and help me. But it's true that honor can be important to moving you forward because here's how they put it. We're faced with this question: am I fighting to preserve life or to preserve my honor? So a fight for self-preservation is different than a fight that is based on your honor or your principles. And the problem of a culture without honor or principles is we don't know how to live. We don't know how to cope. We're always feel triggered, and like everything is making our world fall apart at the lightest touch of a feather. So you have to develop this sort of sense of dealing with it, of enduring greater and greater problems. So I think people are attracted to fantasy stories because if they aren't encountering those kinds of difficulties in their own life, they're still interested in what it would take if that happened to me. What if my parents died? What if I was trapped on a lonely desert island? What if I was given super duper powers to hunt down the souls of evil murderers turned ghosts? And I think that Tite Kubo is really tapping into that nicely. I don't know why I marked that. I think I marked this. This is when he says, "Ichigo, you fool! You told me to stay out of it. Thought I was serious." And then he almost gets killed. So it does fall into the trope of like he sustains mortal injuries in every fight, but then he's okay because he's a Shonen Jump protagonist. But and his dad. I love how they kind of like his dad is kind of immature and a bit of a goof, and he embarrasses his kids. But when you consider that he's now a single dad, he's actually really smart and he's really capable. It's just that he doesn't have his wife there as kind of like a check on his overexuberance. So he gives his son like a really good talking to, and this is kind of a break from like the sadness and the dreariness. Like if they did like my mother's dead, I'm so sad my mother is dead, and then they did like the I blame you, your mother's dead and it's all your fault, like that'd be just like way too much sadness and darkness and burdensomeness for this. And so it gives us a break and just shows that his dad is coping with his loss very well. Why should I blame you, huh? Masaki would be mad at me if I did that. It's not your fault that she died. I'm proud of her. The woman I loved gave her life trying to protect her child. And don't forget, that child was you, right? And then he tells his son, like, you're too young to do like the, sullen, sulky, cool guy jerk look. Live your life. Die laughing. It's great. It's just a little bit of good general advice in the context of an adventure ghost story with, big old swords, because it's Japan. So I'm really enjoying myself reading Bleach. I'm going to try to read as much of it as I can until I think it's stupid, and then I'll move. That's a good point. Never feel afraid to dip in and dip out of a series, because you can have good memories about the best aspect of the series, and if you're no longer enjoying yourself, that's a good clue that it's time to check out and move on to something new. But for now, I'm really, really enjoying these early volumes. With that, I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. Magical editing to give away a video game. Ba-da-da-da. I'm giving away Little Nightmares, a spooky adventure game, rated T, and Darksiders 2, Definitive Edition. Darksiders 2 is rated M, so you'll need to be over 16 or have a parent's permission to enter this one. Comment with the game you're interested in winning. Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell to receive notifications, and check out my subscribe star. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. Catch you later.